Welcome to the JCPod, partner with Stay Down Sports. I'm your host, Jaden Chandler Parnell, and man, we got about 2 more weeks, man. 2 weeks from Saturday. This Saturday, we got a little bit of college football. We got Florida State versus Georgia Tech happening in Ireland. I believe it's Ireland. Yeah, I believe it's Ireland. Man, let me try that again. It's crazy how close this shit is. I mean, I can't even get my words out. I'm so excited. So with that being said, you heard it last week. We went over some NFL news. There's a decent amount of NFL news that happened over this weekend. I probably will save that for an episode. I'll probably save that for one of the episodes a week or two from now, potentially. I mean, it's just some, I guess, we'll talk a little bit about it at the end when we talk about some teams potentially as well, when we go over their breakdowns anyway. So that's kind of why this news can be moved around a little bit. But, for example, Brandon Ayuk potentially going to be traded now. Sounds like there's framework for a trade. It's just trying to figure out if it's actually going to be done, because there's a decent amount going into it. You got the fact that they got to sign Brandon Ayuk to a deal after they trade him, and not only that, they have to get rid of assets to trade him and then sign him to the deal. I mean, it's a whole messy process there. You got stuff like that. The Lions and the Giants have fought for at least the 17th, 100th time now in their joint practices. They have a game on Thursday for the preseason, and yeah, there's been a lot of fights in there. So we got stuff like that going on. So then a bunch of just small stuff. If you're really curious about a lot of that NFL news and you need to know it right away, feel free to check out Stay Down Sports. We're gonna hopefully be having a lot of this NFL news that's popping off up there. So in case I missed something through the cracks, you'll see it on Stay Down Sports. Another thing, Harrison Buckner signed a 4-year, $25.6 million deal, highest paid kicker now in NFL history. Shout out to him, man. I mean, he's a really good kicker. I don't think I need to say much more. He's been really good for the Chiefs, and he deserves a contract. But yeah, like I said, so that's some of the NFL news, stuff like that. So we might cover that on Thursday's episode, assuming we have some time. And we'll go into super detail with some of those moves. For example, assuming Ayuk doesn't get traded by next week, we'll go into more detail a little bit when we talk about the 49ers and how that could affect them and all that. But as for today, we're going to go over the NFC East. So that leaves us with the Giants, the Commanders, the Cowboys, and the Eagles. So yeah, with that being said, we will most likely be going over NFC East and NFC East obviously for sure, because you see the title of the video. But NFC, I don't know. I'm kind of deciding between the I think it's the South and the West, because I'm a little more certain on those two. NFC North, that's a tough one, I'll admit. I'm a little bit troubled still on that one, so I'm gonna save that one for next Thursday. But for this Thursday, I'm thinking potentially NFC West, but that's a little bit down the road. We're going to be talking about the NFC East. And with that being said, we're going to go into basically what happened last year with the NFC East. If you want to go to there it is. That's the preseason. I was about to say, Commanders were 3-0 last year. Oh, that's the preseason schedule, not the actual regular season schedule. So going into last year, Cowboys ended up winning the division. They went 12-5. The Eagles went 11-6. Realistically, I think the Eagles should have won the division, but they had a really, really, really bad issue with just falling off towards the end of the year. They went on a really, really bad losing slide. Giants finished 6-11. Commanders finished at 4-13. Biggest issue, the home and road records were kind of interesting when it came to this league. Cowboys 8-0 at home. On the road, they were 4-5. That was their real big issue. On the road for the Eagles, they were 5-4. At home, they were 6-2. And then for the other two teams, it was just not too good of a year. 4-4 at home, 2-7 on the road for the Giants, 1-7 at home for the Commanders, 3-6 on the road. A little bit of road warrior action from them, but overall, yeah, like I said, it was the Eagles' division to kind of lose, because at the beginning of the year they did so good, and then for whatever reason they just weren't able to pick it up strong. And then when it came to the Cowboys just took advantage of, when they got out in front of a team, they were able just to basically stay out in front of them, and that was no issue at all. When it was a close game, you tend to see them struggle a little bit more. The last 5, the Eagles went 1-4, Cowboys went 3-2. That's pretty much what won the Cowboys the division, was that little bit of a slide. And yeah, that was really, really fun division going into last year. So coming into this year, we'll start off with the New York Giants. Looking at their depth chart, we got Daniel Jones starting with Drew Lock, Tommy DeVito backing him up. Then you got Devin Singletary as the starter, Tyrone Tracy as the backup. I would not be shocked if we see a little bit of Tyrone Tracy. It's just basically going to come down. Devin Singletary won't be too bad, I don't think, for them. I think he'll be about average But I think the potential upside with Tyrone Tracy could see him taking over that spot. But for the meantime, I don't know how long it'll take. Could take halfway through the season. Could not happen at all. We'll just have to see. That's one of those moves that's a maybe we could see. Then you got Malik Neighbors, Wan'Dale Robinson, Darius Slayton, Jalen Hyatt, Isaiah Hodgins, Allen Robinson as wide receivers. You got Daniel Bellinger, Theo Johnson. Ooh, they have a new tight end. Offensive line-wise, Andrew Thomas is leading their offensive line. Defensively, this is where defensive line-wise, especially, this might be one of my favorite defensive lines. Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, Raheem Nunez Roches, and then Boogie Basham, I believe, is there. Oh, they play 3-4. My fault. I forgot about that. So, yeah, Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, Raheem Nunez Roches will be on the line. Then Aziz Ojulari, Bobby Okereke, Micah McFadden will be their linebackers. Corner-wise, you got Kayvon Thibodeau. Oh, Kayvon Thibodeau is their slot. That's supposed to be slot linebacker? That's weird. Kayvon Thibodeau is their other edge rusher. I thought he was on the other side of the ops. Between Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, Raheem Nunez Roches. I mean, that's a pretty solid defensive line, especially with the Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau aspect of it. They got some really, really nastiness at their edges. And then defensive backs, that's where we'll see probably. Well, that's probably we'll see a lot of growth. They have a few young guys there. Not too many like crazy names when it comes to corner. And then they got Graham Gano, Jamie Gillian as punter kicker, and then safety wise, Cordell Float, Dane Belton, Jason Pinnock, Deontay Banks, Drew Phillips. Defensively, I think this team is going to be a lot better than it will be offensively. Malik Neighbors has been looking good in camp, I'll admit. But past that, Daniel Jones hasn't been horrible, I'll say. But overall, I am pretty low on the Giants. I think they're going to finish last in the division this year. I think if the Commanders have 6 wins, they'll have 5. If the Commanders have 5 wins, they'll have 4. If the Giants have 7 wins, the Commanders will have 8. I think that the Commanders will just beat them by 1 win. I don't think it's anything crazy, but I just don't think the Giants are going to. As much as I have seen, I guess, like the improvement of Daniel Jones, I just don't think that. Just feels like they're going to be in another rebuild. I mean, they just got rid of Saquon. That was kind of like the first step to be like, oh, there's some change over there. I would not be shocked if they get rid of Daniel Jones after this year. They get rid of Brian Daboll. I don't know. I can't think of his name. I would not be shocked if those two end up both gone. I don't know. This team feels very similar to the Cowboys, just in a different way, where it's kind of like a lame duck season where we could see some potential, like, turnover. Like, this could be the other half of the turnover, where, like, last year there was some change, like getting rid of Saquon Barkley, stuff like that, making some moves, and then this upcoming season after this season will be when they completely wipe the slate clean. I don't know. It's just going to be really hard to tell with the Giants. I just don't think that their schedule does them too many favors either. So looking at their schedule, speaking of, they play home against Minnesota week 1, travel to Washington week 2, travel to Cleveland, home versus Cowboys, travel to Seattle, home versus Bengals, home versus Philly, home versus the Steelers, home versus Washington, home versus Carolina. Damn! Oh, actually, no. Carolina's a neutral site, so I believe that's overseas. I just can't remember where at. I was about to say, that's a shit ton of home games in a little stretch. And then they get a bye week, week 11. Week 12, they stay home to play Tampa Bay, go to Dallas, stay home for New Orleans, stay home for Baltimore, travel to Atlanta, stay home for the Colts, travel to Philly. The biggest issue I have with this team, too, is for most teams, I'm putting them as the automatic win on their schedule. So, like, when I look at the Giants, I go, okay, yeah, this is automatic win right there. So it's going to be hard to flip it back the other way. I also forgot in the intro, we're now, close to 10 to 15 minutes in, maybe even close to 20 if I didn't cut out some of the stuff of me looking stuff up. I mean, it truly is. This is going to be. It's going to be tough. Now, shit, I totally just realized we're about, 15 to 20 minutes in, and potentially, depending on cuts. And I forgot to explain how this is going to kind of work. But yeah, it's pretty much going to be depth chart schedule, breaking down both of those. Then I'm just going to give out my bets and kind of my thoughts for the team. So obviously we did the breakdown part of the roster, or the 2D. We just did the schedule. So that's kind of to the bets portion, all that part of it. But yeah, overall thoughts on their schedule, it's going to be tough, man. Their over-unders at 6.5. I generally am going to take them under. So under 6.5 wins at minus 150. I would bet this if it wasn't minus 150. I believe I might even have this in my, I think I made a 4-legger. That was, my favorite right away. My favorite over-under team totals. I just took some. And I think I had the Giants under in there as well. But for most part, yeah, I don't think the Giants are going to do too well this year. Like I said, I think it's going to be more of a rebuilding season, so shit. I don't got 6 wins on their schedule right now. Maybe against Minnesota. We'll just say they split all their division games. There's 3 wins. Maybe beat Minnesota. There could be 4. But even then, I think they have the potential to get swept in their division by the Eagles and Cowboys. They can maybe beat Carolina. There could be a 5th win, assuming they split their division. They could maybe beat the Saints. There's a 6th win. And then past that, there's no other games where I can say, yeah, I'll give them a win right off the bat and feel comfortable with it. There's not very many games at all in the schedule. I would say Carolina, and then potentially the Washington game at home would probably be there. But even then, that's a division game. And then, even then, the Saints might be better than. I think the Saints are better than them. There's just no real multiple teams where I can just put the Giants up against and be like, oh yeah, they're going to easily be better than them. And just especially losing Saquon, I think that was a huge loss at running back because of all the playmaking and everything he did. Their offensive line is still not the greatest. Daniel Jones, who knows at this point? He's coming off an injury from last year, so now it's going to make it. If its offseason wasn't already weird, it just got even weirder. I just can't get myself around to this team fully. Some other stuff I've been looking at for this team, though. Let's see. Do I have it? Giants have scored the least amount of points this season is plus 600. I'll write that in red because that's actually something I'm kind of tempted to take. Offensively, first off, let's go over all the good defenses they play. I don't know if Minnesota's is really going to be. Washington, I don't really know. Cleveland, good defense. Dallas, good defense. Seattle's supposed to have a good defense. Bengals are kind of an okay defense. I would say better than average. Then you got Philadelphia, I think will be a good defense, but another one, top 15 defense. Steelers, good defense. Commanders, we don't know really. Panthers, man defense, I'll be honest. So that's a good good defense for them to play against. Tampa Bay is going to be a decent defense. Dallas is going to be a good defense. Saints are going to have a good defense. Baltimore's going to be a good defense. Atlanta, if they're like last year, will project to be a decent defense. Colts should have an okayish defense. I think top 15 again. There's most of their schedule. I don't think they have anybody besides the Panthers whose their defense is going to project to be in the bottom of the league. I just don't think that they're going to have a lot of good opportunities to score. So the fact that for them to score the least is in the NFL, and this is over the whole season, so they could score 31 week, but they score 0 the next 2 weeks. Hey, that average for 10 a week, that'll get the job done because I think the Jets were scoring about 13 last year, and I believe they were one of the lowest. So yeah, Giants at. So what is it? Giants to score least. I'm going to write this in red because this is a maybe. But this is just one that I could see happening. Just for the fact that I just don't project. The Giants' offense to do much. Malik Neighbors I think will be good. I think that overall, behind Malik Neighbors offensively, there's a lot of unknowns on their team, and the few knowns that we do got, like Daniel Jones coming off injury. Devin Singletary, who knows how good he plays behind that offensive line. There's just a lot of weirdness that could come with this Giants team. So, yeah, there's not much I'm really going to take. I'm for sure probably going to take their under on wins. I didn't mention that. I'm probably going to take them. Oh, I did. Okay. I forgot. I already did bet this. I was about to mention it. We did take one Giants bet already. And that was actually this. I did bet them to score the least, so I guess I trust in a lot more than I thought. I only do 30 on it, just nothing too crazy, just keeping it really basic. But yeah, I have it between them and New England. Both those two teams have scored the least. New England's is 30 to win 180. The Giants is 30 to win 210 plus 600. While New England's plus 500. I don't know. I think it's going to be between New England, the Giants, and then the Panthers. And the Giants potentially might have the worst quarterback out of all those because Drake May could end up being good. I just don't know. A lot of unknown, a lot of uncertainty with the Giants. Some things that you just know is a schedule's not too forgiving. Offensively, I don't know who the hell they're going to be, but I just don't see them projecting. I don't see them scoring close to. If they can get over 2 touchdowns a game, I would be shocked. Like, I feel like this is going to be a potential team that will struggle to score, like, a single touchdown a game, potentially. Like, it could get that bad for the Giants. I think that's just at least how I project having them go potentially this year. Like I said, I could be totally wrong. They could sweep the Commanders, and then this could be completely the other way. But I'm more of on the side of I think Daniel Jones is going to be gone after the season. I think that Brian Dable will be gone after the season. I think we're going to be seeing kind of a new look for the Giants because it's just, I don't know, it feels like, especially getting rid of Saquon, it kind of feels like they're starting to be like, all right, let's just kind of try to figure out who the hell we are. But there's a chance that they keep Daniel Jones around because they did pay him. But regardless, I think at the end of the season, Daniel Jones and or Brian Dable are going to be gone. For sure one of them. Maybe you could see both of them. Moving on next, we'll talk about the Commanders. I'll talk about the Commanders next because I actually have the least amount to talk about betting-wise on this team. So looking at the Washington Commanders, they come in this year. They had the number 2 or 3, I think it was 2 draft pick. They took Jaden Daniels. They just announced recently, too, he's going to be the starter, backed up by Marcus Mariota, Jeff Driscoll, and Sam Hartman as a 4-string. So we got Jaden Daniels. And then running back, we got Austin Eckler, Brian Robinson, Chris Rodriguez Jr. There's 3. Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, Luke McCaffrey, Diami Brown, Omalade, Zacchaeus, Jamison Crowder. Rounds out the receivers. Tight end, you got Zach Ertz, Ben Sinnott. Zach Ertz, I kind of, man, might as well have Logan Thomas right there. Moving on, then offensive lines, I actually don't know too many people in their offensive line. Andrew Wiley might be their best offensive lineman. Could be wrong about that. Maybe Tyler Biadasz. Oh, man. Shit. Tyler Biadasz? Maybe that's just it. I don't know. I don't know why. There's sometimes looking at these names, they just bust my ass up. Anyway, defensively, Clinton Perrell, Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen, Dorrance Armstrong. Really, really, really solid defensive line. Frankie Louvu, really, really solid pickup. Bobby Wagner, Dante Fowler, Emmanuel Forbes Jr., Jeremy Chin, Quan Martin, Benjamin St. Just, and then Mike Sanistro. I'm not going to lie, dude. Their defense is a little bit... And then Riley Patterson's a kicker, punter Trustway. Yeah, no, their defense is a little bit better than I thought. I was thinking it might be slightly worse than this. I actually think this is a pretty solid defense. I think, honestly, when it comes to this team, it's going to come down to pretty much Jaden Daniels and what he's able to do at quarterback. Austin Eckler, Brian Robinson should be solid enough at running back. I mean, they could probably use a few more receivers. I mean, shit. Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, Luke, and then Jamison Crowder, Olamide, Zacchaeus. I mean, I think that is enough for him to be able to get the job done, especially with his legs and how he looks to be. Jaden Daniels, that is, as quarterback. My biggest whole thing is he's a smaller guy, so just depending, is his frame going to be able to hold up? Is he going to take too many big hits? Is he going to get hurt? He pretty much is the Anthony Richardson of this year. It's like, if he can stay healthy, this dude has all the physical talents to potentially make some magic happen at quarterback. If not, it could be a really long season for them. But having Marcus Mariota backed up by Sam Hartman isn't the worst thing to be scared of. But moving on to their schedule, they play Tampa Bay. They travel to Tampa Bay to start the season, then home versus Giants, to the Bengals in Week 3. Travel to Arizona Week 4, home versus Cleveland Week 5. Travel to Baltimore, home versus Carolina, home versus Bears. Travel to the Giants, home versus Steelers. Travel to Eagles, home versus Dallas, home versus Tennessee. Bye week, Week 14. At Saints, home versus Eagles, home versus Falcons. At Cowboys. I'm not gonna lie. If you flip this schedule with the Giants schedule, I honestly could see the Giants having a little bit better of a season. I actually genuinely like the Commander schedule. Their over and under is at 6.5 wins, minus 115. By the way, sorry, my foot itches really, really bad. So, I don't know if you can hear that scratching, but oh man, boy, I'm not gonna lie to you. I just have to go into work on my foot for like 30 seconds. That thing wouldn't stop itching. But we ain't talking about my itchy foot. We're talking about the commies, the Commanders. Over under 6.5 win total. I'm gonna go the over at 6.5. That's minus 115. Am I gonna bet it? I don't know yet. Well, looking at the schedule, I'm going to say they beat the Giants twice. They'll probably split in the regular season if I had to guess, but we'll just say for this argument, because I'm just trying to find wins. They split twice. There's 2. There's 2 wins. They can potentially beat Arizona, but I won't give that to them. They can beat Carolina. There's 3. They could beat Chicago, and I will give them that one just for the sake of this argument. There's 4. Tennessee, there's 5. New Orleans, there's 6. And then they just have to split one of their division games for 7. Or if they beat Arizona, then maybe. I do generally like this over. The odds at minus 115, I'll admit, I wish I could obviously get plus money odds. For minus 115, it's not horrendous. It's borderline it's not bad, honestly. Not bad at all. I wish it was at obviously minus 110 or plus money, but I genuinely think 7 wins is for sure doable by the team. It's all just going to come down to, is Jaden Daniels going to be healthy, and what's his play going to look like? I think defensively this team's going to be so much more improved. Dan Quinn is now their head coach instead of quote-unquote riverboat Ron Rivera. I don't know if he's more of a riverboat and more of just like a floating boat, because I tell you what, that boy, he's about as dead as you could be on the sideline. You want to talk about coaching president and aura. That dude had, I think, 0 pretty much by the end. I mean, he was... You look over at a game and I see, like, literally what I just did there. I see that happening a lot. And it's just like, what are we doing? So I think this team will be really, really improved. I think over 6.5 wins is by far doable. The biggest thing, though, and the biggest reason why I'm not taking really any other bets for this team is defensively, I think they're going to be solid. Offensively, I have 0, and I have to mean 0 clue what to expect from Jaden Daniels. Because I don't know if he's going to stay healthy because of his frame and everything. I don't know. Because in my head, I got Arizona State Jaden Daniels. I got LSU, last year LSU Jaden Daniels. And I mean, I see both those dudes at the same time. So there's just a big, big question mark on my stats, sheets, papers, whatever you want to call it. Anything I look at, notes, all that bullshit. I'm looking at it. I just don't know for Jaden Daniels. So, I mean, I've watched some of the camp stuff. I don't know. So I'm not going to take anything offensively for them. I'm just going to be kind of like watching and seeing. I might be tempted to maybe take some Brian Robinson rushing touchdown stuff because I feel like only his rushing touchdowns would be like 1 or 2, like over under 1.5, 2.5, and I think he may just do that. But yeah, again, Jaden Daniels is a rushing quarterback. Might take all of them. So I'm just going to completely stay away. My only Commanders bet, like I said, is probably going to be the over under at 6.5 wins. I probably will end up taking that at some point. I have not taken it yet, but I have a few more stuff I'm looking at, especially for the Eagles. I have a shit ton of stuff I actually might bet on the Eagles because they might be my favorite in the division. But yeah, I'm thinking over for the 6.5 win on the Commanders, and that'll probably do it for me and their squad. So that moves us on next to the Dallas Cowboys. Finished last year, like I said, really solid. Really, really solid way to end the season. It's kind of make or break the year for them. Dak looking for contract. Mike McCarthy looking to keep his job. Dan Quinn is gone, new defensive coordinator in town. A lot of questions on the Cowboys. I mean, they're getting guys back from injury. This is one of the better rosters they've had. Actually, I don't know. I take that back. They've had some better rosters sometimes. I don't know. This just feels like I said, this feels almost like a lame duck year. Kind of like we have the roster that can make it done, but it's also we've had better rosters in the last few seasons potentially that have gotten shut out. Or not shut out, I guess. Sorry, excuse me. That have gotten like heartbroken, whatever you want to call it, beaten in the playoffs, heartbroken seasons. Just have not done what they've been expected to do. I don't know, but Dak Prescott, Cooper Rush, Trey Lance, there's 3 quarterbacks. You got Zeke as your running back, Rico Dowdle, Royce Freeman. That's just the biggest thing to me. The running back room. The fact that Rico Dowdle can't win the job over Zeke. Obviously, I know Zeke left for a year. Rico Dowdle should know more. It's just that's kind of interesting to me. That's something where I look at it, it's like, oh, okay, that's okay. The fact he can't win the job, that's going to be really interesting because this is obviously a few years removed from 2016, 2017 Zeke, where he was going off. CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, Jalen Tolbert, Jalen Brooks, Devontae Turpin, Tyrone Billy Johnson. What a name. I actually fuck with that name, maybe Tyrone Billy Johnson. Just sounds very Southern. If I had to guess without knowing the dude at all, knowing anything, sounds like a Southern name. Could be totally wrong, like I said. But, I mean, just looking at the lineup, and then shout out to them. They have fullback Hunter Lupke. I hope I said your last name right. But offensive line-wise, Zach Martin still leading the way for them. Defensively, you got DeMarcus Lawrence, Maisie Smith, Osai Odigizui. I might have butchered that one too. Damn, I was pretty close though. Micah Parsons, Damon Clark, Eric Kendricks, DeMarvion Overshown. Oh, my Lord. Deron Bland, Donovan Wilson, Malik Hooker, Trayvon Diggs, and Jordan Lewis are your starters. On defense, man, I'm gonna lie, they got some defensive names, so it got me tongue-tied. But yeah, you look at them, my biggest questions, obviously, by the way, tight end, I don't know if I said it. Jake Ferguson, Luke Schoonmaker, Peyton Hendershot. Looking at offensively, I mean, this just looks like a weaker offense we've seen in the past. There's CeeDee Lamb there, yes. And they still got Brandon Cooks, yes, but there's no Amari Cooper. Michael Gallup had some good seasons, but there's no Michael Gallup. I don't know, man. I just don't. This feels like it feels like a CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, and then there's a real drop-off, and then you got Jalen Tolbert, Rico Dowdle, Jalen Bucks. But like I said, I could be totally wrong. I mean, Jalen Tolbert last year, 22 catches on 36 targets, 2 touchdowns. I just don't know. I don't think the Cowboys are going to do too much this year. I think it's going to be just kind of like one of the last rides of Dak and Mike McCarthy, and we're going to see them. I honestly would not be shocked if this team misses the playoffs. I think they're going to end up making it in at the wild card, if anything at least, and I assume they'll lose wild card round, but I generally just don't. I don't think the Cowboys are going to be too crazy this year. I think it's going to be. This will probably have a good season, but I think it's going to be like an average season by Cowboys fans' expectations. Week 1, they travel to Cleveland. I believe that's an afternoon game. I thought it was Sunday Night Football. But I can't remember what Sunday Night Football is week 1. But they travel to Cleveland week 1, home versus New Orleans, home versus Ravens, travel to the Giants, travel to the Steelers, home versus Lions. Week 7 bye is absolutely brutal for early on in the season. And yeah, it's home versus Lions, bye, travel to the 49ers, travel to Atlanta, home versus Eagles, home versus Texans, travel to Washington, home versus Giants, home versus Bengals, travel to Carolina, home versus Bucks, travel to Eagles, home versus Commanders. That is by no means easy, man. We'll just say we'll do the normal. I almost wanted the JC staple, split it down the middle for the division. They got 3 wins right there. The over-under's at 9.5. There's their 3rd win. I could see them potentially. They're traveling to Cleveland. I could see that being a trap game, but I think they'll beat New Orleans. There's 4. I could see them beat Atlanta. There's 5. I could see if they beat Carolina for sure. 6. I'll say maybe beat Tampa, but I will for the sake of argument. There's 7. If you think they can sweep in their division, there's wins 8 and 9. I just think they got a lot of tough games, dude. Like I can tell you now. Home versus Baltimore. I'm probably going to lean Baltimore and probably end up taking them. They're traveling to Cleveland. I might take the Cowboys, I'll be honest, but it's not going to be by much confidence. I'd more lean towards Cleveland, but I just don't know what Deshaun Watson's going to be. So that's more of a, if anything, that'd be more of a just a stay away because I don't know what to expect from Deshaun Watson versus belief in the Cowboys. And then Lions, that's going to be home versus Lions. At least they're home for that. That's going to be a tough one right before the bye. And then coming right out of the bye, Sunday Night Football against either Sunday or Monday Night Football against the 49ers. Sunday Night Football against the 49ers is going to be tough. Then you got the Falcons, week off. Then you're home for the Eagles and Houston. It's going to be a tough 2-game home stretch. It's just a lot of tough games. The unders at 9.5 wins. I will be probably taking the under. I project them to be about a 9-8 team. If they go 10-7, I'm not going to. It's going to be one of those things where I'm kind of kicking myself a little bit. It's like, of course, they got the hook. The hook! But for plus 118, this is probably one of the better odds-wise, at least over-unders we're taking. So if we go under 9.5 wins, that gives us plus 118. And it's just simply for the fact that I think they have a tough schedule, and 2, I think this is just going to be like a more average year from the Cowboys. They went, like I said, what was it last year? 12-5? Or excuse 12-5 with a, yes. 12-5. Their last 3 games were 3-2, but the biggest thing is when they were 8-0 at home, but when they won and they won big, like it was not an issue at all. They would win. They were going to come out in front, and they were off to the races, gone. When it's close games, that's when you saw a lot more struggle, saw a lot more. I don't know what it even is. A lot more average play out of the Cowboys, and there was a lot of games where they could have lost. Obviously, they didn't. Like I said, they went 12-5. Credit to them. It's just 9.5 is pretty low. I do think they would be. My projection, if we go legitimate projections, we'll just say 1 win, 2 win, 3 win, 4 win, 5 win, 6 win, 7 win, 8 win. And that's me, like, guaranteed, like, oh, yes, I guarantee the Cowboys are going to beat this team. Like, we'll say 9 wins. There's 9. I would say, like, I can't guarantee they're going to beat the Bucks. Can't guarantee it. If they beat split against the Eagles, there's 10 wins. I mean, like, maybe but I can't say they're going to beat the Texans for sure. I gave them the win, but I can't say they will for sure. Can't say they're going to beat the Eagles for sure twice. I assume they're at least going to win one of those, but I would assume they, like another one, I would assume they could maybe beat the Steelers, but I don't know. The Steelers might be tough, and they're traveling to Pittsburgh. That's not at home. There's just a lot of weird stuff like that where I'm just not fully behind the Cowboys. So I'm going to lean the under at 9.5. If they go over, like I said, this is not something I'm rushing to the book to take, but it's one that I'm going to be probably end up pretty happy with regardless. Let's see. I have a few other things to go along with that when it comes to the Cowboys. Bland have 1 plus pick 6, I think, is plus 240. Maybe. If he can keep the momentum going from last year, that might not make my list. So we're going to hold off there. CeeDee Lamb at 13 plus receiving touchdowns at plus 360. I'm probably going to take because I don't know who else Dak's going to really throw to other than the tight ends. Especially when it comes to the red zone. I know Brandon Cooks had 12 red zone targets last year, and all those targets were, I think, first look targets. So Brandon Cooks could end up taking some of the red zone, but for 13 plus receiving touchdowns, I'm assuming his over-under is about at 11 or 12. That's why in the specials it was 13. Because usually for the specials, for the average player, they usually do like, this player scored 10 plus touchdowns, this player scored this many. When they go to like 11 or like the 12 plus touchdowns, 13 plus touchdowns, 14 plus touchdowns, that usually means they expect the player to get about 10. So I mean, I expect CD to do that as well. I think that he is definitely doable. He is a very good receiver. One of the best receivers in the league, for sure the Cowboys' best receiver. And I mean, shit, last year he was popping off in the little amount of games that he had, and he was also getting targets taken a little bit here and there. But we'll see CeeDee Lamb's touchdowns real quick just to make sure. Last season he had 14. Yeah, and the season before that he had 9. So I'm going to stick with the 13, especially now that a few targets might be going his way extra because the receiving room is a little bit lighter. I think 13 touchdowns is by far doable. For plus 360, it's not horrible odds at all. And shit, since I'm taking the Cowboys under, gives me something to root for them to do good in the opposite way. So if their under starts doing bad, maybe it's because CeeDee Lamb scoring a lot of touchdowns. Moving on from that, Cowboys score 1 plus field goal every game. It's plus 1,600. I think I will take that. You heard me read out their schedule. There's a few games where I don't think they'll get held to field goals that could become an issue, like, for example, against the Giants. But that's a division game, so there's a chance. Against the Panthers, I would not be shocked if the Panthers don't hold it. And that would just suck, though, because you're going to get a chance where you're towards the end of the season, the last, like, month of the season, and they don't kick a field goal against the Panthers because the Panthers can't get a stop. That is a potential situation that could happen, but for plus 1 field goal, or for 1 plus field goal every game at plus 1,600, that's probably one of my favorite props to take for a lot of these teams. They're going to score a good amount. Because, like, if we take it realistically, sorry, I'm going to fix my chair while I'm talking about this, but if we take it for, we'll say, 8 to 10 teams, I'm betting at most $15 to $20 on it. I'm doing 10 for most of these because I'm assuming these field goal bets are going to be the ones where it's like, I'm probably giving out 6 or 7, but I would not be shocked if only 2 win. Because you're basically asking the kicker for them to trot out into the field and make like a 30 or 40-yard field goal. All right, now do that 17 times in a row for every single week. Because there's, I think, 2 games last year for the Colts. I took it for the Colts last year. There's 2 games where they end up not kicking. So then obviously that situation could come in handy, but that's why I'm going so low on it. And like I said, for a lot of these good teams, I'm assuming I'm going to hit 2 or 3. For plus 1,600, for me to throw 10 to 15 on it, do that. What is it? So it's basically spend about $100, spread it across 100 to like 150, spread it across 10 teams. And the minimum I'm going to get back from most of these is about 170. So it's instant, immediate investment as long as 1 wins, pretty much. So that's why I'm trying to keep these numbers as low as I do, at least. But yeah, like I said, also the field goal, kind of asking for a lot. You're basically asking for him, yes, get over the field, but don't score, don't get too close. I thought a little bit closer. No, stop, please closer, stop. Like that's a really, really tough game to play. Like, yes, get to the 30. All right, now you guys need to quit. Kick me about a 35-yard field goal. It'll be just a fun thing to root for, so that'll be something I'm looking forward to. And that's probably it for the Cowboys bets. So yeah, under 9.5 wins, plus 118. CeeDee Lamb, 13 plus receiving touchdowns, plus 360. And then the score 1 plus field goal every game at plus 1,600. Like I said, I've mentioned this on a few other shows, so if you haven't seen it, here's it for you for those other people who have been around the show since last year or have been in the last 2 shows, you'll know. I have another episode I do at the very, very end of August. That's all my futures, and I'm debating. It's either going to be college futures and NFL in one episode, or it's going to be just NFL, just college. We're still debating, but so I'll have a final list, so I might maybe add some more CD stuff to it. We'll see, but for right now, that's what I'm looking at. It's just those 3 bets for the for the Cowboys, because like I said it a little bit earlier, the Eagles, I have a lot of stuff on, because I look for them to bounce back this year. I think they had a really, really bad slide at the end of the year that just got weird towards the end of the year. So I would assume this year they're going to be able to fix it. Hopefully have a better stretch towards the end of the season. Because, last season, we talked about it. They finished 1-4, I want to say. 1-4 on their last 5. Finished 1 game out of first place, 11-6 in the division. Literally, the losing streak was the reason they lost the division to the Cowboys. They're bringing in Saquon Barkley. New look for them offensively a little bit. No Jason Kelce under center. That's a huge loss on the offensive line. But past that, you got some of the same names. Jalen Hurts, but backing him up, you got Kenny Pickett, Tanner McKee, and Will Grier. Kenny Pickett, that's going to be a weird one. That's going to be weird to see him in the green and not in the Steelers colors. You got Saquon Barkley, Kenneth Gainwell, Will Shipley as the running backs. I didn't know this was the team that got Will Shipley. That's actually going to be... I don't mind that pickup at all, honestly. But Saquon Barkley is going to look to get a decent amount of touches, I would assume. With him and Jalen Hurts are going to be nasty, by the way. A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Paris Campbell, Anania Smith, John Ross, Britton Covey. Yeah, this is another team where I know they got a lot of money spread out to some stars, but they could use a little bit more receiver depth. They're really, really strong at the 1 and 2 receiver. Dallas Goedert, tight end, Grant Calcaterra, and then C.J. Uzomah as the backup 3. You got Landon Dickerson, who's probably their most experienced offensive lineman now, led along with Jordan Mailata, Lane Johnson. Defensively, you got Milton Williams, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Bryce Huff, Zach Bond, Devin White. Oh, I forgot Devin White moved to this team. Nolan Smith Jr., Quinion Mitchell, really good draft pick. C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Reed Blankenship, Darius Slade Jr., and Avonte Maddox. Jake Elliott's the kicker. Brandon Mann is the punter. So, I just expect this team to take a step up from what they did last year. I'm assuming it's going to be very, very similar. I have to check their schedule, obviously, but the win total over-unders at 10.5, minus 148. I'm probably going to be on the over just for the fact I think it's going to be another 11-5 season for them. I would not be shocked if instead of losing 5 games in the season, they flip that out and maybe they lose 2 or 3 games earlier in the season, more spread out, and then at the end of the season they lock it in. Or maybe they just lose at the end of the season. Who knows? But I genuinely think they're just going to be playing I think they're going to play a lot better than what they have been doing. Because, the way they ended last season was just disgusting, to be honest. Schedule-wise, you look at their schedule. Green Bay, Brazil, week 1. That's going to be very, very interesting on a Friday. So that's going to be a really, really weird game to tell either way. 2 decent teams, or decently good team, playing in Brazil for, that's going to be fun, man. Thursday night football. We wake up, we got Friday night football. And then they travel back home to play Atlanta week 2, week 3. They travel to play the Saints. And they travel to play the Bucs week 4. Week 5 bye, absolutely brutal. One of the worst bye, I think absolutely the worst bye you can get. Then they play home versus Cleveland, travel to New York, travel to Cincinnati, home versus Jacksonville, travel to the Cowboys, home versus Washington, travel to LA to play the Rams, travel to Baltimore to play the Ravens, home versus Carolina, travel to Pittsburgh. Home versus Carolina, home versus Pittsburgh, travel to Carolina, home versus Cowboys, home versus Giants. Realistically, I will not be shocked if the Eagles sweep the Giants, I can also see them going 6-0 in the division. I'm not going to say they're going to. I think they'll at least go 4-2, though. But if they go 6-0, I can see them beating Atlanta. There's 7. Beating New Orleans, there's 8. Realistically, they could beat Tampa Bay. There's 9. I think they could realistically beat any team on their schedule. Their hardest games are going to be, obviously, Cowboys because they're in division. And then probably the game against Baltimore is going to be a tough one. But past that, every other team I think on their schedule is for sure beatable. Browns are beatable. Bengals are beatable. That's going to be a tough out, especially at Cleveland. Or at Cincinnati, excuse me. Really, really tough out as long as Joe Burrow's there. But, that's still a winnable game. So over-unders at 10.5. I'm going to be leaning the over. 10.5 at minus 148. I will be not taking this one. Minus 148 is too much juice for me. If you're familiar with the show, I don't bet anything pretty much above 140. Even shit, 130, even then, takes a good amount to get me on it. But for the most part, anything over 140, it's just I'm losing too much value to take it. At that point, it's like I'll just find something else very similar. Like maybe instead of that, I'll just take them to win. Well, I'll take them exact wins 11. That's probably, or exact wins 10, exact win 11. So those odds are probably better than taking this. But yeah, their odds are a little bit too nasty for me, so I'm not gonna be all over taking it. I do think they'll win. I do think they'll take the over, but I don't know. I just know I'm gonna bet it because the odds are too big. To beat the Cowboys twice is plus 300. That's one I'm kind of on the fence about because I think it's doable, but obviously they could just slip up once and it could be over. It's instantly over just because, they travel to the Cowboys, are down 14-0 right away, and they're just like, Obviously, I think they would try to come back and win, but I don't know. It's just with division games can get really, really weird. So I'm probably going to end up staying away from that one. One I am looking at is Saquon Barkley receiving yards. I'm trying to get the number he had from last year. Last year, he had 280, one of the lowest of his career. The year before that, he had 338. I mean, they're projecting for this one to have over 500 receiving yards plus 470. He hasn't done that since year one. With how talented this offense is, 500 feels like it's going to be a lot to reach. But, last year he played in 14 games, had 41 catches. It's looking like you want to get him, because, the years he had 91 receptions on 121 targets. Eli was just dumping the ball off to him like crazy. And he had 721 the year. But the year he had 438. He had 52 receptions on 73 targets. So if we can get up to the 70 target range and make 50 receptions out of it, I definitely do think it'll be doable, especially because most of the time in these situations, Saquon Barkley is the main focus, and on this team he potentially might not be. So for plus 470, that's one I'll write it in red because I'm kind of bullish on Saquon this year, but this is one that will probably end up making the chop block, if anything. This is just one of those ones that just barely is making it to the, what do you call it? I was going to use a funny analogy, but I was going to say this is one of those rare bets that is getting called up to the big leagues, but might only get one or two at bats, and it's like, I'm not going to lie to you, we shouldn't have called you up here to begin with, but we at least wanted to give you a little bit more of a look. That is exactly how this bet is going to go. I at least want to give it a little bit more thought, but 500 yards is a lot to ask for. But like I said, plus 470, not horrible at all. Another one of those ones that is looking like it might be making the cut is Jalen Hurts passing touchdowns. Last year he had 20. Last 2 years he's had 22 and 23. For him to have 30 is plus 800, so that's just 7 more. If their offense gets better, 7 more is not. That's just instead of having some tush pushes, you throw it in. The only reason this is another one that's gonna make it in red, but for plus 800, I think there's some really, really good odds. And you're asking for 7 more touchdowns. Jason Kelce being gone could be massive, and it could be a 7 touchdown difference. It realistically could. Now, will it be? I potentially don't think so. I think that I personally think this is a 30 plus pass touchdown is gonna be tough. You basically want 1.5 to 2 a game to feel safe, and with how much Jalen Hurts likes to run it in, and with how good the rushing attack could be, this number could get really, really scary quickly. But for plus 800, like I said, it's just those are really, really massive odds. And if I'm gonna be, I already don't have a lot in the NFC East in general, and if I'm already bullish on the Eagles, I might as well, right? That's kind of like what I'm thinking. That's kind of what I'm at. This is another team sorry. I didn't explain this bet fully. This is him to have 30 passing touchdowns and 10 rushing touchdowns. Rushing touchdown-wise, he had 10, 13, 15 each of these years. So, basically, the reason I'm taking this bet is passing touchdown-wise, him to have 30-plus passing touchdowns. I think those odds are a little bit lower, but the point still stands. I think it's going to be really, really hard for him to get 30 passing touchdowns. Kind of nervous about that, but I think the rushing touchdowns he should be able to get over 10. So I was just trying to find a play where I'm like, man, the odds aren't horrible. So plus 800 for him to have 30 passing touchdowns, and then also have 10 rush. not bad. For like I said, for plus 800, it's not horrible. I mean, you can see, you can hear it. I'm not fully sold on it. Kind of giving it that Homelander eye, the little side eye, like plus 800 is juicy, but 30 touchdowns, 30 passing touchdowns, 10 rushing touchdowns. I'd probably put him in the MVP category. Hey, might be doable. One I will be taking for sure, though. We can write this in black. Philly 1+ field goal every game. There it's plus 1,600 as well. So 1+ field goal. This is another team that I think they're going to score a lot with how good Jake Elliott is as well. I mean, shit. They get to about the 40-yard line and they're in field goal range. So as long as he can get, I just want to see Jake Elliott out there at least 1 to 2 times a game, and I feel really good about our chances of him making a kick. When it comes to a field goal, another one along with that, along the same lines, 1 rushing touchdown every game is plus 2,200. They have Saquon Barkley and they have Jalen Hurts. I don't think I need to say too much more. Losing Jason Kelce hurts a lot. Don't get me wrong, hurts really, really bad. But you're telling me for plus 2,200, I get the team that, I'm not going to say perfected, but damn near perfected the tush push. And then they also, not only did they perfect the tush push, now they got Saquon Barkley back there who can run it in from the 5-yard line. Because don't get me wrong, DeAndre Swift, love him as a back. They were handing him off the ball at like the 5 or the 8, and he'd be falling down at the 2 or 1, not getting in all the time. Saquon Barkley, with the moves he has, with the explosiveness he can have, with the talent. Like, don't get me wrong, Saquon Barkley is just honestly slightly more talented than DeAndre Swift. And I think with that potential, he has a chance to get in a lot more. So 1+ rushing touchdown every game, plus 2,200. Realistically, I see it week 12 would be, it'll be about like week 12, week 13 when it doesn't happen, if it's not going to happen. And yeah, for plus 2,200, that's massive odds, like I said, for the tush push king himself. So hey, give me that all day, every day. If you think the Eagles are going to have the best record, it's plus 1,000. Reading their schedule, I really don't know, but I mean, that's another one. Like I said, I have a lot of bets on the Eagles, so some of these are going to get cut out, but I do really like the 1+ rushing touchdown, and I do like this best record. For plus 1,000, I mean, they're the 3rd favorite, I believe, too, for the best record. Odds-wise, so I genuinely think that this is not a bad bet to place. You heard me read their schedule. They have a lot of winnable games on their schedule, and a lot of their tough games. I mean, even then, they're the Eagles. They make the tough games as well. So this is a team that I'm looking forward to be really good this year. If you want them to be the last remaining undefeated team, that's plus 1,000 as well. So I mean, if you really think they have the chance to do that, I'd maybe bet that. One thing I want to look at is Jalen Hurts' rushing yards, because between him and this would be the last 2 bets, or last 4 bets I guess I give out, is between him and Saquon Barkley. I'm very interested in their rushing yards. Sorry, I cannot spell. Jalen Hurts last year rushed for 605 yards. Oh my God, this is all day easy. According to the numbers, but they're probably accounting for... Okay, yeah, sorry. So 784, 760, 605 has been his last 3 years rushing. I assume he's going to rush a little bit less, but Hurts to have over 550.5 rushing yards is minus 112. So basically, 55 less than what he had last year. I think it'll be doable. And then also, him to rush for 9.5 touchdowns is minus 126. I think that for only I can't believe that's only minus 126, honestly, for 9.5. I mean, you heard the number I read out, 15, 13, the last 2 seasons, and they only are making it 9.5. That's a little bit of Saquon Barkley, but I also think that's a little bit of the books being like, oh, maybe Jason Kelce's not there. Yeah, so we'll do Hurts to have 550.5 rushing. So 550.5 rushing is minus 112, so it's a little bit better odds. And then him to have 9.5 touchdowns, rushing-wise. These are rushing touchdowns, by the way, people. Him to have 9.5 rushing touchdowns is minus 126. Sorry, I got to move these over to my other sheet. And then the last one is Saquon Barkley. His over-unders at 1,000 rushing yards. This is more of just, I think, like, I'm not going to say a total hedge, but I think one of these two will for sure go over. But I think both have a chance. Last year he rushed for 962 yards and averaging 3.9 a carry, and that's with the shitty offense on the Giants. 247 attempts. Have over 1,000.5 rushing yards is minus 112, but his rushing touchdowns, this is the one I really, really like. So Barkley over 1K rush is... Sorry, I got to rewrite this because I kind of made it a little sloppy. So Barkley to have over 1,000.5 rushing yards is what? Minus 112. I will be taking that. And then him to have over 6.5 rushing touchdowns is minus 130. I do actually have two more things I need to give out before I hit up the outro real quick. I did forget to mention that I do have some bets I already did place on Saquon and on, I believe, potentially the Eagles from before. Let me, for sure on Saquon, but I have to bring it up for the, whatever you call it. But yeah, sorry, like I said, to end it, I got one little last thing to give out. This is probably one of my favorite bets of the year that I have, just from not only the odds, but for just that I love a boy getting revenge. Boy has been a man, a boy, a girl, whoever you want it to be. We're just using a boy for this story, but nothing better than a boy who gets betrayed by a team and they get the chance for revenge. I'm not gonna say Saquon was betrayed by the Giants, but you get the idea. Basically, it wasn't the best of ends, I would say. It wasn't a horrible ending, but yeah, just sad, kind of saddish ending. Saquon Barkley to have 3+ regular season rushing touchdowns. Saquon Barkley to have 3+ regular season touchdowns, rushing or receiving both. Rushing and or receiving both. Plus 550 for him to have 3. I had bet that. And the one I doubled down on, Saquon Barkley to have 4+ regular season touchdowns versus the Giants is plus 1,700. Plus 550 is obviously safe for one against 3 touchdowns. The biggest reason I did both is because for the 4 touchdowns, they play the Giants week 18, so there's a chance the Eagles have everything locked up, and they're like, screw it, we're going to... Damn! By the way, also shout out Shohei. He just kind of ruined my... I just saw my Bryce Harper MVP ticket. That thing's probably cooked now. Thanks, Shohei. Damn. But no, moving back to football. Yeah, the reason I took the plus 551 is because they played the Giants week 18, so there's a chance that Saquon scores... I realistically think he's going to score 2 touchdowns the first game for sure. I'm not going to say that's a lock, but I think he's going to score 2 touchdowns that first game against the Giants. I think there's a chance he scores 3. If he scores 3, bam, it hits, and we're all good. But if not, going into the last game, week 18, there's a chance he doesn't play at all. And if there is, maybe he only plays the first half because of what they need. So because of that, I took the 3+ touchdowns to be safe. But if he's able to score 4+ touchdowns against his former team, which I think there's a real shot he could, that will be some very, very nice cheddar to have at plus 1,700. I think I bet... Was that a... I'll admit, I think that was a bit of a bigger one. I threw... Oh, actually, it wasn't actually. It was one of my smallest rings. I threw 20 on both. Basically, I'm going to win, I think, 20 on both. Sorry. Did I do 20 on both? Or I did 20 on both, or did 20 on one and 30 on the other? Regardless, though, the payout is plus 360. For that, if it's 20, it's going to be nice. Really excited. My order for this division to end it, Eagles 1, Cowboys 2, Commanders 3, Giants 4. All my bets for the Giants, I have under 6.5 wins at minus 150. Not going to take it. Odds are too big. And then Giants to score the least amount in the whole NFL is plus 600 for the whole season. I got that. Commanders, I'm going to take their over at 6.5 wins. For the Cowboys, I'm going to take their under 9.5 at plus 118. CD to score 13+ receiving touchdowns at plus 360, and then the Cowboys 1+ field goal every game at plus 1,600. And then end it with the Eagles. I do like their over, not taking it. Minus 140, it's too big. Jalen Hurts to have 30+ passing touchdowns, 10+ rushing touchdowns. It's on the chopping block, probably not going to make it, but for plus 800, I'm looking at it. For sure taking the Eagles to score 1+ field goal at plus 1,600. For sure taking them 1+ rush touchdown at plus 2,200. Jalen Hurts to have 550 rushing touchdowns, or 500... That'd be a shit ton. 550 rushing yards, minus 112, and 9.5 rushing touchdowns, minus 126. And I'll be taking Barkley, score 3+ touchdown against the Giants, plus 550. 4+ touchdowns against the Giants, plus 1,700. And then for him to rush over 1,000 yards, minus 112. And rushing touchdowns over 6.5 at minus 130. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for the support. Really do appreciate it. We'll be back on this feed on Thursday to talk NFC West or South, whichever one I'm feeling a little bit more comfortable with breaking down. And we might even have a little bit of NFL news if we don't go too long. But yeah, fun day today. Went over the NFC East. We got one more, or basically, 2 more weeks of breakdowns. And then, shit. We're basically at the NFL season. 30 days till NFL, 18 days till college. I can't wait, man. If we're under 2 weeks away till I give out all my futures and everything I've taken, man, cannot wait. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for the support. I really do appreciate it. And I'll see everybody back in this feed on Thursday.